we have a diverse club. It's true. We have people of all ages, all backgrounds, and even all countries. We have an Englishman amongst us, and he's here to give a persuasive speech. It's number 9 out of the CC manual. Help me welcome Rupert Hart. The future.
Thank you. They say the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. That's from a famous science fiction author called William Gibson, who I think is around here. Tonight, I'm going to tell you why it's so difficult to predict the future, and in particular, future related to technology. I'm going to give you 5 rules, or 5 suggested ways of looking at technology, and then I'm going to make a wild prediction or 2. So look out for that bit. So why is it so difficult to predict the future when you're looking in your crystal ball? Well, one of the reasons is you don't know what you don't know. So, for example, who knows what technology will next appear in a few years' time? Who could have predicted only 20 years ago the whole internet thing? Nobody. Not very many easy. But some things go faster and some things go slower. So maybe another rule we need to look at is what we call diffusion, how fast technology travels around. Take phones. Before Alexander Graham Bell, obviously there was no telephone. When Alexander Graham Bell invented the phone in 1876, it was the fastest innovation that had ever happened in human history. Within something like only 5 or 6 years, there were 1 million telephones already. And now, take cell phones. Cell phones, 1950-something, there were these things about this size, costing about $10,000 in today's money. But now, 1 in 6 people on the planet has a cell phone. Imagine, 1 in 6 people. 6.1 billion people, and 1 billion already happened. It's just incredible in just 30 years or so. So it's very hard to predict all of these things. And somewhere out there, the future is already happening. Maybe in a military lab, maybe in a different country, or maybe there's somebody out there who has a very specific use, a very specific, interesting idea. He says, I have a need, and he invents something to make that happen. The other thing is, some technologies just don't work. I remember my heroes in England were the people who invented the hovercraft and the hydrofoil. Well, it was predicted that hovercrafts would wipe out all cars. Why would you have a car when you could have a hovercraft? Well, actually, it turns out there are a few problems, and one of them is the hovercraft can't turn very controllably. It sort of skids all over the place, and it doesn't work very well in most streets. It would sort of kill all the bystanders as you went around the corner. Well, you know, it didn't seem like a problem at the time, but it proved to be the obstacle, which is why there are almost no hovercraft on the entire planet. Or take hydrofoils. Hydrofoils seem like a great idea. You rise above the waves, you use a lot less energy to travel forward. Only problem was, rivers are full of obstacles, and they wipe out the foils, and the ship hits the ground fast. And that's why only really Russia and a few military hydrofoils exist on the planet at all. Some things just do not work. So it's very, very hard to predict things. The other thing is, things could sometimes take much longer than you ever expect. And there was a guy called Thomas Kuhn, very well-known guy, and he wrote a book called The Theory of Scientific Revolutions. And he says sometimes it takes 25 years or so, enough time for all of the people in power to retire or die before a new idea will come through. Isn't that an amazing thought? I think it's amazing. The final thing I'd like to leave with you, the final rule is some technologies are so advanced they are indistinguishable from magic, as Arthur C. Clarke, another well-known science fiction author. I'm pointing towards Dave because he knows about science fiction, once said. So you really just can't tell. You just can't tell. So I have a couple of predictions for you. Actually, could you do me a favor and move that thing? I can't see the lights. I think that if you look at technology over the last 20 years, we've been spending a lot of time studying information about information. Information about information. Take the recent financial crisis. The recent financial crisis was caused by information about information, because it was all about derivatives and information, synthetic information, and different way of modeling things about future prices, which is, if you like, just information. Information about information. I think there'll be a swing towards physicality. In the old days, the Industrial Revolution, you would make things. You'd make a piece of wood, a piece of steel, and you'd make something. And then we moved into computers. And so then we moved into using information to control things. And then we moved to information about information, which is the internet. But I think there'll be a swing back. And I have a couple of predictions for you. I think we are going to see in the next 30, 40 years a vast preponderance of those things we see in science fiction movies, shields. Imagine just for a moment, just take one simple thought, and just accept this just for a moment. Imagine if I can stop air moving between here and here, just stop all air movement. I will never be cold. I will never be plagued by mosquitoes. I will never get wet in the rain. Now imagine that I can shield myself from gravity. Now, I know you're saying, Rupert, come on, this is as far as it gets. But, back to Arthur C. Clarke again. Arthur C. Clarke, famous science fiction author, he invented the communication satellite, so he changed our world, as well as writing science fiction movies. And he says, the one-person gravitator, if it could be made cheaply enough, would totally be amongst the world's most amazing inventions. Imagine if, like your cell phone, you have maybe a belt, but the belt just allows you to rise off the ground, move forwards, backwards, upwards, maybe even, allow you to have a bit of a stomach and still be comfortable. As we get older, our legs will go and everything. You'd be amazed how handy it would be. That's my prediction, ladies and gentlemen, for the future.
I would like a world with a lot more physicality. Just make that statement.